Hey guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, as the title suggests, I think I'm losing my orchid collection. And as you might suspect, it is to fusarium. Now, in this video, I just want to make a discussion about fusarium. I've learned a few things, I'm drawing some conclusions, I've discovered some things, and I want to make this video not to complain or anything. It's just a phase, it doesn't feel good, but I want you guys to understand and learn from some of the mistakes that I made. So a while back I made a video in which I discovered a lot of my orchids suffered from fusarium. You can check it out here in an info card or in the description below. If you missed it and you don't know what's going on, you don't know what fusarium is, check that video first and then come back to this video. So as I was saying in that video, I seem to find a cause for the demise of some of my orchids. Quite a few of my orchids didn't bounce back as I expected them to, and I discovered they were infected with fusarium. It is a lethal disease. Once it takes over, it really kills the plant. That is that. I was forced to throw away the orchids, and in my yesterday's video, I showed you a list of the orchids that are infected so far. You could see it's a long list, about 30 of them. But actually the list is longer than that. I was exchanging thoughts with Ana Maria. You'll see I purchased a few orchids from her. But the thing is, we discovered a lot of orchids infected in our collections. Not only ones that looked bad, but ones that looked very good as well. And that started to worry me. So I started to test even my orchids that do well. One of them is the Leopoldi. Look at it. She's infected with fusarium. The second one is the Mosier, which is producing a sheath and a big pseudobulb. Apparently she's infected as well. And I have quite a few that look so good that seem to be infected indeed. Another one is the Brassavola Little Stars. You can see how well she looks. She's producing buds. She's infected with fusarium. And that is quite scary. So now I'll tell you what I did that I think propagated the disease in my collection. As you might know, I don't share water, but I did a mistake when I moved here. First, I shared the water with the insecticide. You might remember I had an infestation with spider mites. What we did at first was to prepare a big bucket with insecticide and dipped everything inside, and of course that helped with spreading the disease. Second thing was I kept my orchids on the same tarp while I was waiting for Ceramis. And of course water was shared there as well. So these are the major two mistakes that I did that I think helped with propagation of the disease. But then I took a look at my older videos. One of the orchids that I have infected with fusarium at the moment is the Cattleya Tropical Point Orchida. I have a video in which I separated. I'll add it in the description below. I noticed in the video it was infected back then as well. So it came infected from the nursery. But it looked very good. It had flowers. It didn't show any sign. Afterwards, I mistreated it a little bit. It had to go through the move. It never did spectacular, but it didn't die either. It was a so-and-so orchid, but it didn't die. It didn't show signs. So this made me believe that many orchids can actually come with fusarium. If you can imagine in nurseries, they do hose them down. Maybe they have a watering system. It's really easy to propagate the disease. But most of the orchids we receive from nurseries look okay and most probably do okay. However, there is a high chance they are infected with fusarium. So what I did next was go on Google and just searched random pictures of dividing orchids, people dividing orchids. There aren't many pictures, but the ones that I saw were shocking. The orchids people were dividing had fusarium. They had the purple ring. I'll show you an example on the screen right now so you see what I'm talking about. Still, the orchid looks perfectly healthy, has roots, has plump pseudobulbs, has fusarium. The owner most probably does not know, and if the orchid does well, he will never know. And here's another funny thing. You remember I lost my Sherry baby. It was completely ruined by the disease. Before I moved, I made a division and gave it to Ana Maria. So she wanted to send me a division of her division, which grew beautifully. It was plump. It produced a lot of new growths and a lot of new roots. Lo and behold, when she made the cut, she discovered the orchid had fusarium. But by the looks of it, you couldn't tell. Also, I made a discovery. I think it was the Tokyo Magic. I cut one of the pseudobulbs and the whole core was kind of purple. I cut another pseudobulb and I cut into good tissue. This is pretty logical. When the core gets very purple, it means the disease is very advanced. So practically the whole orchid should be infected. But my infection stopped right there. The conclusion that I can draw from this is that orchids might be able to actually survive with this disease. They might even overcome it. And I am a true believer in immune system. I had my Encyclia cordigera, which had a terrible fungal disease, which she overcame by herself. And it's pretty logical that orchids can overcome or can live in a way with the disease. So after throwing away a lot of my orchids, I decided to stop throwing away if orchids do spectacular. With all my heart, I'm telling you, these orchids are doing now better than they ever did, and they are infected. Should I throw them away? I cannot at this point. Maybe I should, but I simply don't think I should throw them away. Because I just think many of our orchids are infected. Actually, we don't even know, but it doesn't mean the orchids will die. However, it means they are carriers. I am sure that an infected orchid, even if it doesn't show signs, it can infect others. And if it infects a very weak orchid, whether stressed orchid or just a simple weak hybrid or individual, it will kill it. Fusarium will kill it. So with this in mind, I'm faced with a decision. Either I'm throwing away everything that is infected, either I keep it and be extra careful. At this point, I choose to keep it. My boyfriend insists that I replace them, and I agree with him. I will try to replace them over time because an infected orchid, even if it looks good, it might collapse all of a sudden in the future. And the orchids that I have infected, which I believe are 90% of my collection, to be honest, my older collection, there is a chance at some point they will simply die off, and that is that. So at the moment, I'm trying to replace them, yes, but I'm not giving up on them just yet. I will keep them and I will try to experiment. I'll try to see if they can live with the disease, how it will manifest. I will be extra careful with spreading the disease, of course, but I cannot recommend that you do the same. You should make your own decision on the subject because it is a dangerous disease, and of course you never know what type of weak orchid you will have in the future that will contact the disease. So this is just my own decision. It might be a wrong one, but that's what I plan to do. I also plan to use probiotics, which actually help strengthen the immune system of a plant. Also, I will experiment with cinnamon oil. There's a drawback. Cinnamon oil is very desiccant, so I think they are good subjects to experiment with cinnamon oil because it has been proven to actually kill the pathogen. But at this moment, as we speak, 90% of my collection is probably infested with fusarium. It might have been infested when I purchased it. I might have spread the disease as well. They might be carriers. They might die at some point. They might not die at any point in time. The disease might be stopped or may not be stopped, but I believe they are carriers. So as you can see, my shelves are thinning out. That is that. We will replace them. And I'll repeat this once again. Please do not share water. Nowadays, nurseries rotate so many orchids because so many people buy orchids, so diseases spread much faster. And in all honesty, the whole point of the Ceramis was to, one, not stress orchids so much with repotting, possible root loss, and second, not to share water. So this is my alternative measure to not sharing water, but of course you can find other measures as well. If Ceramis doesn't work for you, that's perfectly fine, but if you can find measures of making your life easy and not share that water, that would be great. So take this away from this video. Do not do the same mistakes as I did, and try your best to prevent spreading any disease your orchids might have, because many diseases are just invisible. So that was it for today. This was the discussion. Hopefully the last type of discussion on fusarium. Hopefully the next videos will be results with the treatments or how the orchids are performing and so on. And I really hope that this is not the end of my collection as it is today, but this is uncertain. Of course I will let you know because I'm making daily videos, and I hope this was useful and brought more awareness to the fusarium thing. I'm sure there are many other diseases that can kill orchids, and it's always good to prevent rather than treat. On the brighter side though, stay tuned for another giveaway pretty soon. I made another haul. I am replacing some of my orchids, so in the future videos we will talk about more happy stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for daily orchid videos, and I'll see you all next time. Bye! So you remember my vanilla orchid. I was telling you that at some point I will need to change the rod because it will grow. And it's happening quite fast. Yeah, there's still a lot to go, but I think within next year, probably I will need to find something else to place this orchid on. or find a solution because she's growing so fast and the leaves are getting larger and larger. I do believe this is an easy grower, so hopefully next year I'll come back with a care tutorial.